here again with another Walking Dead video. It's been forever. This will be my review for the series premiere of The Walking Dead Dead City, as I was able to watch it early on the Amazon Prime AMC channel. But before I get into that, though, pretty important, if you aren't caught up to the point where I am in rewatching or watching The Walking Dead Dead City, or if you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention, as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case and you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And if you're a fan of The Walking Dead, at the end of this video with about 20 seconds left, I'll put my review for the Walking Dead series finale, Rest in Peace, Season 11, Episode 24, right here. Click on that if you want to check that out. And I'll put like some Walking Dead rankings. It's been a while, so if you want to get familiar with my thoughts on The Walking Dead, I'll definitely put those at the end of this video. But this will be The Walking Dead Dead City, Season 1, Episode 1. I assume there's going to be another season. The title of this episode is called Old Acquaintances. And this will be my review, reaction, recap, and discussion after just finishing watching the episode. So we have Maggie looking through a scope at Lower Manhattan, and she sees a bunch of the dead, or a bunch of walkers. And then as she hides from some that are actually close by her, one walker grabs her. She's able to overpower the walker and beat it up with the scope that she has, pretty brutally actually. So we know Maggie is in a bad place to start this show. And most of the walker's head is like gone after that. It actually almost looks like what Negan did to Glenn. More on that later. And then we have a very cool intro. Unfortunately, they didn't use the usual Walking Dead theme. I do feel like every show in the Walking Dead universe should have that iconic theme, just like House of the Dragon used the Game of Thrones theme, but minor, minuscule detail, it was still really awesome, and I'll get used to it and love it just as much within a couple episodes. I already like it a lot anyway. And we have cars again. There's no horses in this episode. Maggie gets out of a Ford and goes to a bar. Like, there's just a bar with, like, nobody afraid of anything. And she says she has a cabin about an hour from here, but it was overrun by roamers. And Maggie asks for the little girl's room. And unfortunately, though, she has other plans, and she walks past the bathroom. And she goes into a motel room, or maybe it's their apartment now. And this is obviously Negan's room. And he's actually in the shower. And she sees this, but then some of the people in the bar apprehend Maggie. And then they put her on a table. And I don't know what they were actually going to do to her. They might have been planning on killing her right there. And there's a woman who's about to cut her up and possibly end her, but Maggie actually has a knife that's in her boot that she activates by like tapping her boot or shoe, whatever it is, and that was pretty cool. So she's able to stab the woman in the back by kicking from her leg, and then like she stabs her, like gets it through her hand, which was pretty awesome. And she of course fights them off. I think none of them die during that, and then there's a girl that runs away, and she goes after this girl, but we do see Negan watch this happen. And then Maggie gets back in her truck and is grabbed by another guy, and she's able to get away, but her map book falls out. Now, she does have one page with the Manhattan stuff on there, but her book of random things, it falls out. And then Negan and the girl are running, and then Negan goes at, they stop, and Maggie stops the truck, and Negan actually goes after Maggie, but she actually gets the upper hand on Negan and says, "Sorry, I thought you were better on your feet." And Negan says, "Good to see you too." And Negan is a wanted man, as Maggie shows him like a wanted poster, but it's just a picture essentially on paper. And Negan wants to keep the poster, and then Negan calls Ginny over. That's the girl's name. And Maggie actually asks Negan where Annie and his kid are. And Negan does not answer this question at all during the episode. So obviously something happened. I'm guessing they're dead, but maybe that's not the case. Maybe one of them is alive and one of them's dead, or I don't know. But he doesn't answer the question, so that's interesting. And then Negan tells Ginny that him and Maggie are old acquaintances, the title of the episode. And Maggie says that she was raided and they took Herschel as collateral. And Negan asks how he figures into all this. And she says that the man that has Herschel, they call him the Croat. And Maggie says that Negan knows him. She says that the Croat whistles just like Negan, which Negan did in season 6, episode 16, the finale that nobody liked because it was a cliffhanger, and season 7, episode 1. Yeah, that episode that's so awesome but so sad. And then Negan talks about the Croat, and he says that he was an insane son of a bitch, and he apparently used to be a savior. And Maggie says that he's the last person that she wanted to ask for help, but she had no choice. And Negan and Ginny get into the truck with Maggie. They're in the back, not in the front seat. And they arrive at a new community called New Babylon. And Maggie says that the hilltop had to relocate because it was kind of damaged by what Negan did in season 8 to it. And Maggie asks why Ginny doesn't, I think her name is Ginny, or is it Jenny? I think it's Ginny, doesn't talk. And Negan says that Ginny found her dad and turned. There's no reason that why she doesn't talk, like if her tongue got caught out by somebody, or she just doesn't talk because of that. She had to, her dad's death was so traumatic that she's going mute. And then the marshal arrives at the bar that Maggie was at, that Negan was, that ran away from. And he's asking if they've seen this man, and shows the Negan Wanted poster. He goes by the name of Negan, talks about all of Negan's wrongdoings from back in the day, and apparently he killed someone recently. And the marshal gets the woman, the bartender chick, that Maggie had stabbed in the back and in the hand with her boot knife or boot blade. And she's like, I don't know him. And then somebody says that, then she admits that she saw him. Where did they go? And she's like, I don't know, I didn't see it. And then somebody else in the background says a woman took him in a blue truck. And then the marshal actually lets the walkers eat this woman that went nameless, as far as I know. I'm sure she's credited somewhere, but I mean, since she's already dead, there's no point to look up her name and tell you what her name was. And then Ginny is going to stay behind at New Babylon. And the marshal, back to him, he says, what he did back there, it had to be done to one of his other marshals. He's the head marshal, and they do give him a name later in the episode, to one of his men. And then he finds that, what Maggie, the map book that Maggie left behind in the parking lot, and realizes that, because there's one page missing, that Maggie and Negan are most likely going to Manhattan. Oh boy, we get a flashback to season 7, episode 1, like all the moments with Glenn, just sad with Negan and laughing, and buddy, you still there? It's, yeah, one of the best episodes of The Walking Dead. I think I ranked it number 2. Remember to check out my ranking video of all the Walking Dead, my favorite Walking Dead episodes. I'll put that again with about 20 seconds left to go in the video. The finale review of Walking Dead will be right here, though, and I don't know where I'll put the episode ranking. I'll put a season's rankings as well. But we see all the flashback moments of Glenn, and it's a nightmare that Maggie's having. And Negan talks about his pop, promising to take him to see the Statue of Liberty, but something came up, as per usual, with his dad. And Negan says, I could kill you right now, to Maggie. You need me. If you kill me, you don't get your son back. And Negan says he believes that he's paid for what he's done. And Maggie tells Negan she's been camping out, watching the city. Maggie goes after one of the marshal's men, and they actually take him hostage. What they didn't, I don't believe they named him, and if they did, whatever, I'll get to that later, but he's not important anymore. And Maggie and Negan take him on a boat, and they take a boat to Manhattan. And it's just a great visual. And of course, there's a bunch of fog, and then we have a bunch of walkers in the lake that I think they're in, or river, whatever it is. It's a lake, and it's just a great visual. And Negan says that this guy that they took hostage, one of the marshals, other marshals, he's a liability, which that's very true. And Negan mentions those revengeful thoughts he thought Maggie had put to bed. Clearly, she has woken the hell up. Great Negan dialogue. I love Negan. It's great to see him back on a Walking Dead show. And then Negan says he's not that bad guy anymore, and asks how many husbands and fathers that she's killed. I mean, yeah, he killed Glenn. It was pretty brutal and pretty sad, but Maggie and Rick's group did the exact same thing. Maybe not the way Negan did it, but they did it eventually. They still killed people regardless of how they did it. And then Maggie says, what you did, you don't ever put something like that to bed. And then I made another note of the lake full of the dead. And then they arrive at Manhattan. So the fog goes away, and then you see the visual of Manhattan, which was pretty awesome. And Negan says, fuck me. And then Negan tells Maggie, when this is over, look after Ginny for him. And Maggie says, we don't have time for this. And then Maggie also mentions that you're not going back for her. So, I mean, is Negan going to die in this show? After watching this episode, I think he might die. Now, I don't know if it'll be this season. I assume, I don't know if it's officially been announced, but from what I've heard by people that have seen the whole series, don't worry, I don't know any spoilers. It definitely will go another season, but I don't think they've officially announced that. But it's interesting. But as they walk through the streets, walkers are actually falling from the rooftops. And then Negan tells the Marshall prisoner guy to get his shit together, dickhead. And then Negan actually gives Maggie a heads up as she's about to walk through a trap, and she walks around it. And then a bunch of walkers are led to where they are by somebody driving with music, like they've done previously in The Walking Dead. And then somebody is shooting at the walkers that are around them. So they're hiding behind like a stack of some. There's a bunch of bugs that are getting all over them. I don't remember exactly what bugs they are. It might have been the ones that were in, what was it, season 11, episode 16. So that's that. But since somebody's shooting the walkers, they're able to get away into a building, which is like a dry cleaners. And then Maggie says, we've got to find a way out of here. And then the head marshal guy is the one that was doing the shooting, and he enters the dry cleaner building. He says his name is Pearlie Armstrong. I don't know if that's 100% accurate. That's what he said, but I don't know if he's telling the truth. And he mentions that he doesn't drink or smoke and that he's a family man. He has a family and a wife and children. And then Negan is actually able to save the kid marshal prisoner guy that they have her hostage from a walker attack. A pretty brutal walker attack was like moving his tongue and drooling all over the thing. I don't think I've seen a walker with a tongue that, well, it wasn't necessarily long, but it looked more bigger than what we've seen on The Walking Dead before. But then he says to him, next time I tell you to move, you move. And then all of a sudden, Pearlie Armstrong actually shoots and kills the man. And from what I know, it seemed like he did it on purpose. Like, he had a clear shot at Negan too, but maybe not. But from what I noticed and saw, it seemed like he shot him on purpose. And then all the walkers get through the door and attack the other marshal that's guarding the door. He's going to be dead, or a walker. And then Maggie tries to sneak up on Marshal Pearlie Armstrong, but he realizes it at the last moment and gets her down, and he potentially might kill her. She tells him in a last-ditch effort that while they're fighting, that she needs him, to save her son. And then Maggie actually is able to get the upper hand by like her necklace. And then she's about to kill Marshal Armstrong. And then I think she realizes what Negan said to her about killing husbands and fathers. So she doesn't kill him and doesn't hurt him any further. And they go into another room, I think, or maybe it was another building. It seemed like a storage room of sorts. and they have, like, I don't know if it's a lighter or a match, and they're going around the room, and all of a sudden this older woman is shown in the dark, and then she blows the light out, and that's the last that we see of Maggie and Negan in this episode. And then we have the Croat talking to Herschel. He asks if you would ever meet, if you ever meet the man that killed your father. He lived among your people for years. And then Herschel says that he's not scared of this guy, and he ain't saying shit. And then the Croat says that when he was a boy, he was fascinated by Manhattan, and he thinks that Herschel is going to like it here. And he also pulls out this, like, knife weapon. It's not a straight knife, but like a curved knife thing, and, like, puts it on Herschel's leg to kind of intimidate him and make him go, maybe I should rethink my statement of saying I'm not saying shit. And then we see a man running on the rooftops with cuts all over him, and the Croat says he wants him to tell him what he knows about his people. I don't think this is a character that we saw earlier in the episode. I don't think. But anyway, this guy is eventually able to zip line, and then the Croat cuts the zip line with pliers, and he falls apparently 20 stories, which apparently was a new record, the Croat says. And this is what ends this episode. So, wow. What a good start to a show. I'm going to say this to start this off as far as what my thoughts are. This looked beautiful. My complaints about The Walking Dead, it's my favorite show of all time, The Walking Dead original show. It looked old. Like, a lot of stuff that happens in The Walking Dead looks like a show that took place in, like, the 1950s or before, even maybe the 1900s. It just looked old. This show looks new, like it looks like new things and all that, and it just looked amazing. The shots that they give you, all are awesome. So as far as what my score of this episode is, I mean, it's a 10 out of 10. It's intriguing. I'm interested to see where this goes. With only 6 episodes, there shouldn't be many slow parts. Of course, we're most likely going to have another season, and I hear there's some crazy shit that happens that you don't see coming, which leads me to believe that even before, I do think Negan might die in this show. As odd as it seems, there might even be a scene where, you know, when Negan is standing there, Maggie just kills him because she wanted him dead. I don't know, but it just seems like this might be something that happens in this show. So 10 out of 10 for me. Characters, Negan and Maggie, standout characters of the episode. I did like Marshall Armstrong, if that's his name. He was pretty good. The Croat, he seems pretty legit, but he doesn't really look intimidating, but he's insane, so that's good. And I like the new actor that's playing Herschel, as they had to age Herschel a little bit. He seems pretty good. So those are my thoughts, of course. Now it's your turn. If you're a fan of The Walking Dead, or Fear the Walking Dead, or Dead City, or The World Beyond, which The World Beyond is the only Walking Dead show I didn't watch any of, and I don't know if I ever will, just because, I don't know, I heard so many bad things about it. But I am caught up with everything else. I watched all of Fear the Walking Dead except for the second half of last season. I can't remember if I watched the mid-season premiere, which would have been, what was it, 7/09. But I did watch 7/16, the return of, spoiler alert, Madison Clark. And then I've watched every episode so far that's aired on AMC+, but I don't review it. But if you have questions about it, certainly ask me. But let me know what you think. If you're a fan of The Walking Dead, make sure you Hulk smash the like button to help me out with the YouTube algorithm. Sorry the video's gone a little bit longer. Share the video with a friend. Put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comments section about what your thoughts are. Who was your standout character of the episode? What would you score this episode? Are we going to agree or disagree? And then, of course, make sure that you watch my other Walking Dead related content. I will put my review of the series finale of The Walking Dead right here. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.